So if you use centimeters, that's 38 by 25 for your rectangle.
Yes, that's correct. A rectangle with dimensions
Thank you,
50 inches
Alexa.
by 10 inches would be 38.1 centimeters by 25.4 centimeters.
Alexa, stop! Shut up. Hey, I'm so glad you're here. Today we're going to make Polish Kolaczki, and possibly Kolaczki. I'm not really sure how you pronounce them. You could help me out with that in the comments. However, I do know how to make them. My grandfather was Polish and I have a really great recipe. Actually, it's going to be in the description if you want to print it and follow along. This recipe has tender cream cheese pastry. I'm filling it with apricot, coconut, and walnut, and then you just take the cookie and you fold it over into this nice little square shape. They're not only beautiful when they're done, but they're going to be everyone's favorites. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is cream room temperature, really nice and soft, cream cheese and butter together in a bowl. I'm using a stand mixer. If you're hand mixing, you'll just want a large enough bowl to mix this all together till it's light and fluffy. So 8 ounces of cream cheese, 226 grams. And then we also have 8 ounces of butter, which is 226 grams, or 2 sticks, or 1 cup. It's a lot of measurements. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just cream this until it's nice and light and fluffy, giving it a gentle stir at first. So our cream cheese and butter mixture is nice and light and fluffy. I have scraped the bowl down 1 time. Now we're going to add flour and salt. That's all there is to this pastry dough. Super easy. So we're doing 2 1/4 cups of flour. I'm actually using a scale just for that exact measurement. And then it'll already be in the bowl. So that's 280 grams. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, which is 3 grams. And I'm going to whisk this. You want to whisk it just to make sure that the salt is mixed really well into the flour. Done with my scale. Now we're going to add the flour into our butter and cream cheese mixture. If you're hand mixing, clearly just start out slow so that the flour doesn't go everywhere. I'm going to put this on stir so that it's nice and slow, and just start incorporating this in. And you want to mix this just until combined. When you see most of the flour is gone, and it goes rather quickly, then you just go ahead and shut it off and you can finish by hand. Okay, so that's all there is to making this dough, and it is absolutely amazing. So I'm scraping the sides of the bowl down and I'm going to form this into a ball. The dough is kind of sticky, and what we're going to do is divide the dough in half, and then we're going to put it in the fridge to chill for 30 minutes to an hour till we get it to a workable consistency. Get it into a ball here. I'm going to cut it in half. And I'm going to try to just shape it into a bit of a square, mainly because that helps us on the other end. When it comes out, we will roll it into a square. So I'm just making it into a square now. Cover it with plastic wrap and put it in the fridge. I'm going to do that with both of these, and I will see you back here in a minute. Okay, while the dough is chilling, we're going to make our filling. And I meant for that to rhyme. We're going to be using walnut halves, we're going to be using coconut, and we're using apricot preserves. I have some beautiful little dried apricots here, but I decided to just use the preserves. They're really yummy, and most of the time preserves are just as good, and I can't get fresh ones. That would be my preference. But in our area, we can't just get fresh apricots at the store. So if you can get fresh apricots and you want to make your own, I would be all about that. So anyways, first we're going to put 1 cup of apricot preserves in a bowl. That is 320 grams. We're going to put 3/4 of a cup of coconut in, and that is 64 grams. And then we're going to do 3/4 of a cup of walnuts chopped finely. That's 110 grams. So we'll give these a chop. And then we'll put them into our mixture, and then our filling will be ready to go. So while I'm chopping these, I just want to say that I don't have the market here on the fillings for these. You can use any kind of jam, any kind of preserve that you want. You can use cherry or strawberry or blueberry. Any kind of preserve would work. You can also use a nut filling. You can use cream cheese. This just happens to be the recipe that I've used for years. And every single time I make them, I'm always asked to bring them back next time. So whatever you prefer is perfectly fine to put in these cookies. So the nuts are all chopped. I just wanted to show you they're really pretty fine. You don't want really, really big chunks because these cookies are very petite, so you don't want large chunks sticking out of them. Put this into our bowl. Give this a stir. You can also use different nuts if you choose to do this recipe and use apricot and coconut. You could also use pecans if you wanted, or another kind of nut. There, our filling is ready. So our dough is ready. I just pulled one of the 2 halves out of the fridge, and it's nice and firm. And we're going to go ahead and start rolling it out. If you can actually put this in the refrigerator for a day, even if you want to prep ahead a little bit. And if it's really, really solid, you can always give it just a little bit of time on the counter before you start to work with it, just to allow it to get a little bit more to room temperature. You'll want to get a baking sheet ready. I have this lined with parchment paper. The filling sometimes is very sugary, sticky, and you don't want it to stick to your pan. So I usually just line it with parchment paper. Turn the oven on to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius so that it is ready to go when we are. And you want to lightly flour your surface. I am aiming for a 15 by 10 inch rectangle. I'm going to try to do 2.5 inch squares. For all of my new friends who are really all over the world, I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm trying really hard. I'm an inches girl. So I'll tell you, it should be 38 by 25 centimeters, and that's going to put you at around a 6 inch square for each of your cookies.
6 centimeter square.
6 inch square.
6 centimeter square.
6 centimeter square. Okay, so let's get our dough on here and start rolling. I'm using a generous amount of flour. I do not want this to stick. And when you first start with it, you're basically just trying to break up the butter and the cream cheese. They're very firm in there. So I usually do some pressing like this, just kind of press down to get it moving. And then I'll do the same thing, just this direction, until it starts to get a little more pliable. I turn it over. Just want to keep it moving so that it's not sticking. I'll do the same thing on the other side. It's already softening up. I can feel it. I have noticed there are recipes where people use powdered sugar or confectioner's sugar instead of flour. I just like using flour, but you're more than welcome to do that as well. So now this is getting to the point where it's rollable, and really it just takes some patience, and you have to put your back into it. So I'm about done rolling. I did this 1/4 of an inch thick, and the edges are a little bit thicker, but I'll be cutting those off just to make the square. So you just kind of roll it out the best you can. I used a pastry mat. I should have said that in the beginning, but this actually has the markings on it. It has the centimeters and the inches right on here, which just makes it a little easier to follow along. If you don't have that, just use a ruler, a yardstick, even a tape measure, just to kind of guide you in the outside measurements, and then again on your cuts for the cookies. So now we're going to start cutting. Okay, so I'm going to use just a little ruler to help me, and one of these tools I'll be cutting with. You can also use a sharp knife if you want. You can also use a pizza cutter. You just need a sharp blade because we're going to make our little squares. And I will put links in the description below for all of the tools I've used today in case you want to check out what I'm using. I'm using this fun little tool just because I like the edges to be kind of pretty. Cut along the edges, so we start with a square here. Just follow along with me for a second. So now I'm just making, I have the general rectangle cut out. I'm just going to make marks every 2.5 inches. So that was fun. We have all of these beautiful little squares that are ready for filling now. So I'm super happy to see this is a 6 centimeter square. I have my pan right here beside me, and I have a little dish of water which we'll use to seal the edges once we pinch them together. So I'll just show you. I'm certainly not going to make you watch me do all of these, but I'll show you the general idea. You want to put about 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon in the center. Then you fold. I use an offset spatula or a knife. You can use your fingers too, but I find this easier. Just fold this side over, and you want to just dab some water on there. And then you fold this side over. And I dab it again. These puff up some when they're baking, and we want to make sure that they don't open up. And there you have your first cookie. That's ready to go in the oven. So we're going to do this a bunch more. Look how pretty these look. Aren't they beautiful? So we're going to put our first pan in the oven. We're going to bake these for about 10 to 12 minutes or until the edges begin to gently brown. So we'll just keep an eye on them. Okay. We've been in 10 minutes. Let me see. Wow, they're done. They look beautiful. They smell beautiful. Wow. Yay. So the first batch is out of the oven. They baked 10 minutes exactly. They're gently browned on the edges. They look absolutely perfect and beautiful. I couldn't be happier with them. Now I just need to keep baking. The last step is to put a little bit of powdered sugar on them. This is not all of them, by the way. I have more cooling over here, and I have another whole half of a batch in the fridge to make more. So the moment I've been waiting for, my lifetime motto, one of them has always been, I'm 2 cookies away from happiness. So I'm going to eat this one and then one more after we're done here. So I'm trying it. The crust is moist and tender and flaky. And the apricot gives a little bit of a tang. And then there's the sweet coconut and nuts. These are done to perfection. You have to try them. So thank you for sticking with me. This was fun, and I know you can do this. You just follow along and you've got this. Just beware, if you make these, everyone's gonna want them again and again. I think we should do this again together. I'll see you in the next video.